9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
What up, y'all? What up, y'all? Happy, I have to think what day it is. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Welcome to WWT Live, the Monday edition. What a weekend. And there's still more things happening, but I am not alone. Probably one of the hardest working, according to Sindel, which I understand where she's coming from. One of the hardest working women this weekend. Courtney Rice is in the building. How are you doing?
Well, I'm excited. It was a very busy weekend. Stream 6 hours of all in Texas.
6 hours plus like an additional 3 yesterday.
It was an additional 3, but I know everybody wants me to go on and on about Tony Storm, but we'll do that later. I just want to enjoy the rest of it because there's evolution, there's everything else happening, but we'll get to it later.
We'll definitely get to it because I feel like, and I think I mentioned it a little bit at the beginning of the show yesterday. I've started my Marvel journey again. And so now I'm doing like a deep dive into the Marvel universe, which I feel like with wrestling, it's kind of like, because even though you have AEW and WWE, like these wrestlers, some of them cross, a lot of them cross, and a lot of them are friends. And I feel like we're in this multiverse for wrestling. Yep. That's my personal opinion, but I feel like it's very true. As my dog, can you relax? Okay. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into a quick recap of Evolution because we did a watch long and post show yesterday. I wouldn't say a lot of surprises. Would you say? I feel like there was just one main surprise.
There was a main surprise. I mean, we obviously know like Nikki Bella was going to be in the Rumble match, but it was nice to see a lot of legends in the audience. Mm-hmm. A lot of the ladies sitting in the audience, and I will say some of them, they don't look old. I will say this, even on socials, like people were still complimenting on Tori Wilson, how she hasn't aged. Ivory, Jackie, Jazz, Molly, Melina was in the audience, Leilani Kai, Medusa, seeing all those women, and it was really a treat too. Yeah. It was really nice. I know we did give like match-wise, it was good. Match-wise, they did put on the show because it just shows why the women can not only close the show, they can end it. Just still waiting for them to do it on the regular.
Right. That part. So let's kind of hop into it real quickly. So what match stood out to you the most?
Ooh. I will say outside of the main event, it was a triple threat match with the Intercontinental title because that was one of 2 mid-cards that was on the card. I wish the United States Women's Championship was defended, but that's a conversation we'll save for another day. I was very happy to see one of the mid-cards get an opportunity for the Women's Intercontinental Championship and kind of reiterating the fact on why they started the mid-card belts. I know with the cuts and everything else, and they're not building a division. But I think with this triple threat, it is shining light on the Women's Intercontinental Championship and being the workhorse it's supposed to be. With also that too, you have Becky and Lyra. It also helps Lyra's character develop and show that she can have personality, which I love. And that's something to really reconsider. Obviously, Becky retained, but of course, it's going to be her and Bayley, possibly at SummerSlam. And I could see a heel shift with Lyra because it looked like she was being healed just a bit. She's teasing a bit. So it's a possibility she can have a character change and really take it in stride. But it was definitely nice to kick off the show with Evolution.
And now one thing that we've been like talking about ad nauseum for years as far as women's tag team division, right? And so now we have this additional belt, but then it kind of takes away, I wouldn't say it takes away, but we're looking for these legitimate tag teams, not these makeshift tag teams. And now you have, and full disclosure, I'm sure it's not a surprise. I didn't go to wrestling school or any of that stuff. However, it feels like most of the time when you go to be champion. Like the tag team is not necessarily on the table or in your mind unless you go with a friend or you make a friend there or any of that stuff. But it's kind of like one of those things where it's just like, with that being said, we don't necessarily have a lot of tag teams, and then we add another belt, which kind of takes away from having that tag team picture, which kind of goes into our whole like tag team division and who retained and what's going to happen after that. So what do you think? What do you think eventually we'll get to the point where we can have legitimate tag team division, even if it's across all the brands? Like say if we had it across, NXT, SmackDown, Raw, even TNA.
I hope so. I mean, you kind of gutted most of your tag team division, and it was right there at the heights. And I don't know what you're gonna do with that, unless, because I know you're starting with Charlotte and Alexa, but it's like, is that a legit tag team? And also, you have the Secret Service, which they are a legit tag team. Also, really thinking, what other tag teams are there to do? Unless you want to go on NXT, and also with the fact too, maybe, and I'm just doing wishful thinking, maybe you could get a team from TNA that could jump ship. Maybe a tag team that was there back in the day, but that's just me. The inspiration, because that was the team that I thought in my head, but I think they're going for the TNA Knockouts title, and they're also in a little bit of a flex.
Right. But also like people who legitimate tag team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Well, we'll see what's going to happen with that. For me, obviously, and it was so funny because I really don't post a lot on my personal account when it comes to wrestling. But hey, Dave, and hey, Captain. But the fact that Naomi came and cashed in, which was like the biggest pop of the evening, that was my favorite part. And seeing what she's going to do next, because I feel like oftentimes, hey, Eric, how are you doing? I feel like oftentimes in the last, maybe 7 years or so, like we get close. And this is, taking out was it a year or two that Naomi was out? Taking out those 2 years, it was just kind of like they get her to a certain point, or we think something's going to happen and then it doesn't. And, I'm sure for people who are like super fans of Natalya, it could be the same thing too, where it's just like, hey, we're there, but what's happening. So I'm really hoping that, I can't, I'm lying. I was going to say, I'm really hoping that they do her justice, but I had a whole epiphany yesterday, and it was kind of a small monologue, which I guess I'll reiterate shortly now. It was like when Naomi came back, I wanted her to put the belt on her. And I'm so glad they didn't, because the story arc that we saw, if they gave me what I wanted, we wouldn't get the Naomi that we have now. So I am going to, I don't know, trust in the WWE, wrestling gods, the universe, the people who are making things, that they have a plan that we will, majority of us who are rooting for Naomi will be satisfied with. So I'm not going to put my fear out there where it's like, man, are they going to do this woman justice? Because the pop and the payoff that we got last night was amazing. What up, Bosa? What up, Special Nobodies? Happy Monday, y'all. So with that being said, I got a lot of people hit me up in my personal DMs asking me about Naomi, and I'm truly happy, and beyond happy, like beyond happy. If you guys like heard my like Naomi stories, and just like the whole family is just actually wrestling women in general, just like super dope, super nice. So
she deserved it. She deserved it. I mean, she worked really hard for it. I was very surprised. But if you saw that entire crowd throughout the whole night in Atlanta, they were all going nuts. Every single one of them, everybody was going nuts from top to bottom. And it's like you didn't have a match that made you fall asleep. They just had that energy there.
Which kind of goes, well, I don't know. Do you want to kind of go over this Evolution card match by match? Because I feel like we already did that. Because I feel like I kind of want to touch into what Triple H said.
Yeah. So we did talk about, obviously, Becky, Lyra, and Bailey. We did talk about the tag team match. Roxanne and Raquel, they retained. I want to talk about this match in particular. NXT Women's Title. Jordan Grace, JC Jane. Of course, they did have a great match. The Juggernaut did what the Juggernaut does best. And remember, the winner of this match faces off against Masha Slamovich at Slammiversary, which is also this Friday.
Crazy,
by the way. But also, everybody was talking about this match, but they were talking about what happened this in particular, which is not a surprise. Blake Monroe betraying the Juggernaut,
which is going to be a good setup. Again, it's one of those things where I really like being surprised, because remember at one point you can watch like Raw or SmackDown. This, when I mean one point, I mean like the tail 3 years of the Vince McMahon era, where you can watch SmackDown or pretty much any pay-per-view and kind of know the gist of the story, and you're like, okay, there's not too many swerves. Whereas now they're not really getting us with swerves, but they're getting us with really great storytelling, which, like, okay, well, what's going to happen here? Okay, this happened, but with this happening with Blake, what does that mean? Where does Jordan go? There's so many different other outcomes, which is a really great like place to be in, where, you know, you're not like, okay, well, she has to win because she's done this, and therefore it's going to lead to this, and then in SummerSlam it's going to lead to this. Like, nobody really knows except for the people who are writing, and I think even that, to that point, that changes day to day or week to week. So I was surprised by it. What do you think is going to happen for both Jordan and Blake?
Well, if you did not see socials, Jordan was very pissed.
Of course.
Very,
like, did you be?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you had the size of the Juggernaut, I mean, I would be pissed off too if you backstab her. So that's going to be another element. Of course, JC Jane retained. I mean, she's going to be facing off, as we mentioned, against Masha this week. And also, there was something that was missing, because I know all the ladies were there. It would have been nice to see a backstage cameo of Masha Slamovich backstage. Because, you know, even though it's NXT and TNA, it would have been nice to see the TNA Knockouts title, especially at Evolution. And she didn't have to be there too crazy. At least you could have, like, saw from backstage and see who her opponent was. And me, well, her and Jordan, they do have a good, respectful relationship. So I know she was probably pissed off at what happened. So that's also something, too, because that would have been nice to see Masha there. But here we are.
So who do you think is going to come out for Slammiversary? Who do you think is going to come out on top of this?
Oh boy, this is actually a tough one, because like, you don't want JC to lose, and you don't want Masha to lose.
Right. So you think shenanigans?
I think there's going to be a lot of shenanigans from the outside, because of course Masha, she does have backup from the TNA Knockouts division, because of course you're going to have Fatal Influence that are trying to interfere. It will be very interesting. I know this is going to be predictable. I would not be shocked if Blake Monroe came into the TNA zone. That would be interesting, especially with the stare down between her and JC.
Right. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Because that could be another factor in there.
Right, and that will give her something after Slammiversary too, especially if she ruins the chances of her actually becoming a. Do you know if the title's on the line? I'm assuming so.
No, it's pretty much.
Oh, title versus title.
Yeah.
Okay. Christopher saying I'm pulling for JC. Yeah, I'm gonna see. Man, there's just your weekends. Just I'm trying to like figure out how I'm gonna get out of my weekend plans. They're throwing a birthday party for me. I'm like, how do I get out of this? So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with that. I'm curious, because I feel like this is going to be an exciting summer with, in particular with the Evolution, which kind of let's get into what Triple H said at the press conference, where he didn't guarantee a third installment of it. He didn't say yes and he didn't say no, but it was not. I don't know. It didn't give me hope. So what do you think? What do you think is gonna happen?
I mean,
Well, let me give the quote for people who didn't say. So Triple H says women don't need their own show to be in the spotlight. Gives a we'll see regarding WWE Evolution being an annual event. So what as a PR expert, what do you think with this I don't know, PR very politically correct answer?
I mean, I don't want to say it's politically incorrect, but if you say women didn't need it all event, how come you don't have them close out a PLE? I'm just throwing that out there. That's just a question, because that's something to keep in mind. But also, if you did see the crowd reaction, I don't know what you saw last night, but the fans were going crazy. They were chanting it. They really wanted women's wrestling. And I get what Nick Khan and Triple H said a couple months ago, not listen to the fans. I get it, because the rest of the IWC, they're the total narcs of the world. But at the same time, at least taking some of the feedback as well. At least getting it. If you can't get it from the fans, at least get it to some close colleagues. And especially if you have a relationship with specific media or podcasts, at least take that in consideration. Let me say this. Keyword: credible media and podcasts. That's the keyword. That's something to reconsider. And also with the fact too, and we were talking about this yesterday, I was happy Maybelline was a sponsor, but it made me sad, because for campaigns and stuff like this to take 6 weeks, that's a bit of a stretch. And I can say this for I can't say this for me and my other PR colleagues, but we would be like pretty much pulling our hair out if it was 6 weeks.
Right.
Because that is very hard to do. And there are so many angles that they could have done with Maybelline. There's so many, because I've seen it on socials, but I kind of wish it did bring a lot of attention, especially somebody that does PR and also in the pageant world that does some beauty stuff. That does really hurt me. And also the fact too, you could have had your makeup artist use Maybelline as a sponsor, saying this is like what mascara they use, or what eyeshadow they use from Maybelline, or this is what, like, so many creative things outside the box. It just would have been so cool to see Maybelline. And I don't know if it's their part or whoever leads the PR team for Maybelline or anything else, but that's just something to reconsider if they want to be a sponsor.
Yeah, I feel like a couple of different things could have happened. Either obviously, like, Maybelline came, was it like maybe 2 or 3 days before the event?
Yeah.
Either it was like a cross promotion tester, where it's like, we'll throw some, money behind nothing too big, and we're going to see what the return on investment is. So they're kind of testing out the market to see if, because this is, to be honest, this is the issue that we run into as Women's Wrestling Talk, where it's just like most of our audience are men. So if we have a Maybelline sponsor, I mean, there are in the era where we are right now, I see men putting on makeup, but it's not a majority. So is it going to move the needle enough where, they're buying the products? I'm curious to see, even with Evolution, what the percentage of men to females and the numbers and all that. And I don't know if they release those anymore. They might, but so like what that looks like. So like, there's so many different factors. It's very, like, it's kind of one of those things. I think we're all in this position, no matter, how old we get. We just want to be able to do what we love. However, if what we love doesn't pay the bills, and you're not willing to, live in a box to be a starving artist, and, another terrible analogy, it's kind of where WWE may be, where it's just kind of like, yes, we want these sponsors, we want to support this. However, it's really tough getting the sponsorship, and kind of how you weave that in. Because now I'm kind of looking back on it, or maybe when I watch it again, to see who were the sponsors for Evolution compared to who are the sponsors for other PLEs, and what that looks like. Let's see what Boss is saying. It's funny, Evolution, I was created to smooth the relationship with Sal. Yeah, I remember that. To spot. Well, no, because that's the rumor, but All In was the day before. Yeah. So, I mean, yes, I just hey, Kazaran, Look, I mean, and the thing is too, like I'm seeing like, you know, men, it's not, it's a thing, right? But we don't know how much of a percentage of, and I'm sure this is out there where you can look at like Maybelline, for instance, and look at the percentage of men and women who wear like nail polish, for example, what the percentage of that is. And then take that other sect of men who wear nail polish, hypothetically, let's just say we're going with the percentage of people who, it is men who are watching Evolution. What percentage of those men are watching Evolution? And then how much are they purchasing? That's kind of where it all kind of leads into. And like I said last night, and I don't think I'll ever change my words on this. It's like, at least give it a chance. It's not to say like you don't have any money. So if you don't have investors, throw some of your money behind it for 6 months and see if you get a return on your investment. And then that's when you can say, you know, it didn't garner, you know, our return on investment. But to throw it together in 6 weeks, you know, even if the rumors are true, which I don't think WWE is petty enough, but, you know, from talking to different people, they you know, people are saying that TKO is kind of petty as far as the takeover of that. You know, it's just, eventually it's going to just become too saturated. And that's a whole nother conversation in itself. It's kind of like the boxing bubble. At one point, boxing was really popular. CrossFit was really popular at one point. And, you know, it's just the ebbs and flows of any, you know, business and any big thing that kind of everybody's on. And wrestling's really hot right now, but it's not going to be hot for 30 years straight. It's not a Kardashian. So,
but it's still here, alive and kicking.
Yeah, it's not going to go anywhere. Don't get me wrong. Like, the history of wrestling and all that, so it's not going to go anywhere. But where it is right now, as far as Maybelline and mainstream media, and then having, I don't know how many pay-per-views between AEW and WWE happened in the last 3 days. Like, between all of that, you know, we're in a really good spot. I mean, they could stand to remove one. I mean, they could, but that's not happening. I'm really interested to see what the numbers are. And, you know, I don't think we are going to see the numbers, but I'm interested to see what the numbers are for each PLE compared to Evolution. Because I love, the devil's in the details. So we'll see what happens. I am disappointed that Triple H didn't say yes next year this time, or, you know, when they had that Mae Young Evolution 1, that little thing 7 years ago, that was awesome because it's introducing, this is where you kind of could introduce like the evolved talent or the, you know, college talent, stuff like that, or even just indie stars who've been in the game. But yeah, it's I don't know.
One of those things you kind of have to like.
But maybe they have a plan. I'm holding on. They surprised me so much. Naomi is the North Star right now. They surprised me so much with Naomi that I feel like maybe they have a plan. So I'm gonna take a breath, and I'm not gonna like lose my ish. I'm not gonna, you know, say, oh well, you know, we'll see it in another 7 years. We don't know. So we'll see. However, to play devil's advocate on myself, they already have pretty much next year planned out as far as PLEs. So
we shall see.
There is that. What are you saying here, Boza? Naomi pissed off the interesting to. I mean, I feel like the Naomi, this run of Naomi, it would be awesome. This is more of a wish type thing. If like this run of Naomi leads into, I mean, the bloodline's kind of dead right now, but like say if the Civil War ever happens, which it probably looks like it's not, that run would lead into that, where she's become such a terror. Like, go with me on this vision. She becomes such a terror, right? And as the locker room is burning down, her husband comes beside her, and they get together, like they form like Voltron for the original bloodline, and then they terrorize the rest of the WWE universe.
Oh my goodness. That's storytelling right there.
I'm telling you.
That's storytelling.
Oh. Anywho, I digress.
Well, well, it's funny. Bosa mentioned Raw. We might as well jump into Raw really quick since he was talking about Raw. But we just have a quick few things around Raw. Maybe we be getting a post show. Maybe a watch along.
Man, Sindel, you need to get on said. You need to get on said.
Maybe, but as we heard yesterday during Evolution, there will be a gauntlet match after. We'll be talking about what happened after Saturday night's main event. LA Knight, Penta, Braun Breaker, main event Jey Uso, and CM Punk will be in a gauntlet match, and the winner will face the World Heavyweight Champion at SummerSlam. And courtesy of General Manager Adam Pearce, because he made these announcements earlier today, we have Chelsea Green taking on Nikki Bella, and it is a dream come true for Chelsea because she's been talking about this for the last few years that she's wanted this to happen. We're also going to see Naomi because we did talk about her. She will be in the building. Very curious on what she's going to say to everybody in the Raw Women's Division. And we're also going to hear from Gunther, and we'll talk about Saturday night's main event after his victory against Goldberg. And he will be in the building. He will be looking slowly at the gauntlet match on who's his next opponent at SummerSlam. But all this and more tonight on Netflix at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And is there anything? Well, of course, Naomi is what you're interested in. But outside of that, is there anything else that you're interested on Raw?
Sorry, my dog is trying to get up here. It's very. I have much respect to people who just do makeshift desks. Because it's very difficult when you have a dog who wants to be in your lap all the time. Anywho, I digress. Definitely, I want to hear what's going to happen on Naomi. And then I thought we got an update. Ryan saying there's an update with Seth. I thought Triple H did an update yesterday with Seth.
I think he did in the press conference. He did, but I think it's like official. So,
yeah, I'm curious to see because now she's established as the champ. What's going to happen next? So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. The gauntlet. I think I'm interested. Here she comes. I'm interested to see what's going to be happening with that, the outcome, because now is it like 2.5 weeks from SummerSlam?
It's like
Monday night.
Fastly approaching.
Yeah. I feel I'm curious because I feel like this is going to be. It's kind of almost like the Monday after WrestleMania, where we had so many things that happened this weekend. However, we're setting up for SummerSlam, so I feel like this Monday, pretty much this whole week, with across all the platforms, we're going to either see some storylines set up or some storylines heat up. So I'm interested. The gauntlet will kind of be one of those to me.
Yeah, and also with the fact too, this is the first ever 2-night SummerSlam, so they need to pull out all the stuff. They need to pull out everything.
Okay. There's two mindsets. I think it's hard for me to take off my worker mindset. Hey Ryan, thank you for being a new member. Are you happy that there's a 2-night SummerSlam, or are you like, oh my gosh?
This is going to be interesting because this is the first 2-night SummerSlam. There's already so much happening. Like there's WrestleCon happening this weekend. I think there's also some stuff in the independent scene that's happening. Like GCW is having an event during SummerSlam weekend, so there's a lot. Chris Van Vliet is actually having his live show on the Friday before SummerSlam. So there's a lot of stuff happening. There's so much happening. No, Dylan, I ain't doing Monday night. That said, Wednesdays are my day. I'm only doing Wednesdays.
And see that what you just said, as far as like balancing, there's so much wrestling, and I know I've said it, but some people a lot of people, because there wouldn't be, if people weren't paying for it, then it wouldn't be happening. Have the appetite to watch is because essentially there's wrestling every night. So I feel like this almost kind of goes to the oversaturation, right? So you go to, like, for instance, you take WrestleMania, for instance, which is like huge. We would, I think 4 of us were in Vegas. There are so many events to the point that you actually didn't even need to go to WrestleMania. Like, you could watch the 2 days, but you got enough live wrestling there. And I feel like this is for SummerSlam, it's going to be the same thing, where a lot of people, including wrestlers, indie wrestlers, are going to have opportunities. They're going to be able to wrestle different places. They're going to get paid, all that things. It's really good for on a financial level, I think, to have a 2-day event. However, I almost equate it to like CrossFit. For some of you guys who don't know, I used to be like a CrossFit announcer. Right. And CrossFit at one time was like huge. There was events happening all the time. There were boxes, which is like gyms. They were all over the place, all the things. Now, I don't know if CrossFit is even like 2 days. It used to be like a week-long situation. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I kind of feel like maintain with the 1 day, and so you can keep it going for a longer period of time versus almost having that burnout, where it's like you have the 2, or you're essentially spending a week worth of wrestling for Mania. Even though SummerSlam's 2 days, you can get there on a Tuesday and get wrestling that. So it's essentially a week for SummerSlam as well. I don't know. It just seems like there'll be a burnout. But maybe this is why WWE is exploring international waters.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Too much. I mean, I love wrestling now. Whew.
I do. It's just kind of one of those things where I don't know. I think maybe because covering it is a different mentality versus just watching it. Mm-hmm. I equate it to like the days where I used to watch football, and it's like I used to just sit and watch football on a Sunday, and I'd wake up and watch it again and sleep, and it was nice. Like it, you didn't have to report on it. And then when I started reporting on sports, it was a different beast. You can't fall asleep during it because you have to be able to talk about it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just be like, okay, see the people, like, whatever we do. So yeah, I don't know. Roundabout way, I think we both agree that maybe 2 days is too much, but they're not paying us the big bucks. Whoops, there it goes. Oops. They're not paying us the big bucks. Oh my god.
I know, because me and Honey are looking at each other. They're like, 2 days? What are we gonna do?
And it's not 2 days. Like, it's gonna be like 4 days. Hey JD, I have not seen you in a while. Hey JD, what's up? It's gonna be like 4 days. It's not gonna be 2 days. And even if you just do the 2 days, right? Say if you don't live in the Jersey area, right? You still have to travel, so you have a travel day. So you have a travel day there and back. So that's still, even if it takes like a couple of hours, that still equates to 1 day, right? So you have the travel day. Like it's just, I don't know. I guess if that's your, I don't know. We'll see. It's the first year. Maybe they do things different, but I have a feeling that it's going to be very much people who are outside the WWE sphere that are like kind of like the orbit surrounding the events. They're very much going to treat it like a WrestleMania and try to put on as much events as possible. I think WrestleMania there was like 25 plus wrestling events that 3 or 4 days. So anyways, I digress. We'll see what happens. I may or may not be there. I'm waiting for some confirmations on things. So move having. I know. Well, congratulations on the new job. Congratulations on moving. So yeah, I'll be moving too eventually. Probably at the end of this year. We'll see what happens.
Moving.
All right. So long story short, we'll see what Triple H says. Maybe they have a good plan. What about Roxanne Rodriguez? Her response to Kevin Nash.
Oh, Raquel?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I said Roxanne. I meant Raquel.
Yeah. This was actually an interesting story that actually popped up during the weekend, which I was very surprised because this was actually an episode of Kevin Nash's podcast where he offered his thoughts about Raquel Rodriguez and pieces of her in-ring work. And he expressed that he gets upset at Rodriguez for working small. And he said she'll make herself small instead of selling big. But Raquel, because she was speaking to Shaq Wrestling, she responded to Kevin Nash's comments, and this is what she's quoting. If that's coming from Kevin Nash, I fully take that to heart. If he thinks I'm working too small, Mr. Nash, sir, with all due respect, I'm gonna start working bigger, and I hope you are able to tune in some more and watch Raquel Rodriguez grow and get a little bigger every single time, because if anybody knows how to be a cool guy, if anybody knows how to be a strong, big guy, it's Kevin Nash. He set the bar for us. And then she goes into much details on the respective criticism and critiques. This is what she said. I think that's what's kind of kept me going for so long, is seeing the glass half full, because no matter what, everybody's going to have opinions. Everyone's going to have their criticisms. I think it's great to take criticisms with a grain of salt, take them for what they are, be respectful to know that, hey, someone else is watching your craft and they're taking time of their day to criticize you on what you're doing. That's kind of a compliment. Kevin Nash has better things to than watch a Raquel Rodriguez match and tell her that she's working too small. But for him to do that and to go out of his time, I fully respect that, and I will fully take that criticism to heart. And it's definitely something that I know I am personally working on at the moment. There's some things that have happened that I feel have helped me step out of my shell a little bit more, but it's definitely on the rise for sure. This attitude, I feel like, yeah, she's new, she's fresh, but she's just feeling very confident these days. And so I'm just very excited to share all of my opinions and to get more feedback like that. If everyone from Kevin Nash to Ric Flair to any of our other history-making WWE Hall of Famers want to give me critiques, I will happily take it. Please, thank you.
That was a really good, because, you know, some people, I'm beyond wrestling, some people don't necessarily take criticism well. And, you know, it could have went the other way. But for her to be very humbled about it and, you know, say, hey, you know, watch more of it, I'm going to improve, is pretty cool. Because, you know, I know some people could have taken that a whole nother direction and feel a certain way about it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, she did take her stride. I think because people just can't take constructive criticism, no matter how you directed it. Because it's not just the wrestling; it's any type of industry that you're in. You're gonna have to take that constructive criticism and just focus on growing,
right?
And also challenging yourself on thinking, what can I do to be better? What can I do with this? What can I do with that? And just asking for support. It's always good to get constructive criticism, but there have been at times, especially in this industry, there have been some ridiculous people that have said even the craziest things that's not even constructive. And it's just like,
yeah.
There's a reason why you're not working in the industry.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes it's good for her. We'll just leave it at that. Good for her on that. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I feel like with Liv being gone, we're actually seeing a little bit more range from her character-wise. So, oh, Dylan.
Oh, he used Enzo and Big Cat. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I feel like we'll see what happens. I feel with the, oh my gosh, my dog. I'll feel like, oh, I need to, okay. I feel like, sorry, my dog was distracting me. We'll see what's going to happen. I feel like with Liv being gone, we're seeing more character range from her, which we weren't necessarily seeing. Remember, she was gone for a while, a bit, and then she came back, and being the addition to the Judgment Day, I feel like she's finding her place. And now with Liv being gone, we're gonna see what happens. And then I'm really excited when Liv comes back, because there's gonna be so many possibilities.
So many different angles.
So many different angles. And yes, you're right, Maria. Criticism does make us better.
Yes, it does.
All right, what do we have next? You want to do main event or Logan Paul?
Saturday night's main event, and then it kind of shifts right in. But pretty much Saturday night's main event. I mean, obviously, the big story we did talk about was Seth got injured during his match against LA Knight. It looked very, very bad because I actually just watched Saturday night's main event today. It looked very bad, and he had to be helped off after the match. So it was very scary. Triple H, there was a report out for Fightful that he was getting an MRI, but and also he was at Evolution last night, but he was in crutches. So he was backstage in crutches, which that's good. But do want to wish Seth a speedy recovery. Not sure what they're going to do, especially with the fact he does hold Money in the Bank briefcase. So that's another angle.
Did they say anything on how long he's going to be out for, or they haven't gone there yet?
They didn't say anything.
Man. That's a
tough one. We do have that and wish Seth a speedy recovery. We also had Solo Sikoa taking on Jimmy Uso for the United States title. Obviously, Solo retained. And also, I thought Jimmy was going to get another beatdown, but Jacob Fatu came in, and it's just starting to build up very quickly within that I wouldn't say bloodline, but in that Samoan family.
Do you think we're going to get, and I know I made reference to it too with the whole Naomi thing, but just in general, do you think, I know there's different, it's like different timelines now with the bloodline, right? Do you think we're going to, the Timu bloodline? Well, I mean, it's kind of fractured, but do you think we're going to get two versions of the bloodline coming together for a civil war of any sorts? Or do you think that ship has sailed?
Well, I'm not going to say that ship has sailed, but I would not be surprised if it came back for War Games later this year.
Yeah, but does it include The Rock? Because, I mean, he was here, then he was gone. It's kind of, like that father who's supposed to come and pick you up, and he picked you up for your birthday. And you're like, okay, well, he's definitely going to pick me up for Christmas because he picked me up for my birthday, and then he didn't come pick you up. That's what it feels like with The Rock. It's like he gets you so excited. It's like, okay, this is it. We're in it to win it. And then he doesn't show up.
I know that's always the hardest part, and he's part of the board for TKO, so that's another thing. But I think there is going to be something brewing when we get to War Games, and especially with the fact Roman is supposed to be back soon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing too, and also I think it does get a lot more deeper into this War Games as well, because I think there is a lot of story that needs to be said. Very curious how this is going to go, and I see it could be Avengers and Survivor Series. What better way to do it in Survivor Series with War Games and just beat the heck out of each other?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it. I would love to see it where it makes... I don't know. I guess it's a combination of both, because sometimes you have things that are thrown together, like, Evolution wasn't thrown together, but it was thrown together in a short period of time. But what the outcome behind other than all the other nuances as far as what they could have done, the outcome, what we saw, was amazing. Mm-hmm. So I'm more of a, like, I want to see the build up so there's some excitement. But say if it was just 2 weeks before Survivor Series, all of a sudden, half of them, which we didn't know even existed, came out and they started beating the other half up, and now it led to that. Like, I feel like we would be happy because we know there's more. Like, you can just create almost a whole show based on the Samoans.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more story to be told right before we get to San Diego.
There it is with that. What else is anything else that happened?
So another thing that happened, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. Obviously, he had Jelly Roll in his corner because apparently after what happened on SmackDown the night before, Logan Paul interrupted Jelly Roll's concert, and then it turned into a mess. And apparently, Drew McIntyre Claiborne Jelly Roll, and Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce were having a field day with both Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre backstage, and that leads us to SummerSlam. Randy Orton and Jelly Roll taking on Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul.
Do we know Jelly Roll's been training?
Yeah, he's been training.
Okay.
He has been training, and this is the second match officially announced for SummerSlam. We already know John Cena is going to face off against Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also another thing, too. And then, of course, the match that everybody has been wanting. Goldberg, Gunther. Gunther came out the victory.
Was everybody wanting this match, though?
Well, I mean, hey, I heard, the people in Atlanta, except Dion. Dion wanted this match.
Crazy.
He wanted the match with Goldberg.
I'm curious to see what he thought after the outcome, what his opinion is. Both are saying they got 16 and a half minutes on the actual match.
16 minutes. And also, if you caught it on socials, or if you watched it on NBC, Goldberg was set to do his retirement speech, and NBC cut him off halfway when he was talking.
That sucks. But it's somewhere. We're in the age of the internet. So if you really want to see it, you can find it.
But, Goldberg had a really great career. I mean, not the way he wanted to end, but
something.
It was something.
And to actually be able to have your son see you like versus just videos on that level is an amazing thing. So, kudos to that. I feel like we did see his son last time. I feel like by looking at him, he's of the age where he knows he can appreciate it regardless if he wins or loses.
And also, we did talk about Logan Paul earlier. News happened over the weekend. His podcast got officially signed under WWE and Fanatics.
Nice.
Over the weekend. Logan Paul, if you checked out his Impulsive, that's the name of his podcast. Pretty much, it's joining the WWE and Fanatics digital content lineup. Variety put out this article over the weekend where, of course, it'll be added to that. And yeah, pretty much it kind of, as it mentioned, Logan Paul's ties with WWE, talked about his first contract signing, but also featured interviews with a range of personalities from worlds of entertainment, sports, and culture, including WWE superstars such as Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, but other people that he had on his podcast were Tom Brady, Kevin Hart, Machine Guns, YouTube star Mr. Beast, and the reigning president over in Washington he had on his podcast. So, yeah, lots of stuff for Logan Paul.
I just realized something that I have to tell you offline.
Was it a bad thing?
No, it's a good thing.
Okay.
I just looked into something and I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, that's why. Yep. So Logan Paul, congratulations to you. I mean, they're part of the WWE Podcast Network because it also has Stephanie's podcast, Cody's podcast.
It's the podcast network too. Remember, they can't even do this anymore. The New Day had their podcast. And I was talking to the gentleman who was producing it, and they kind of stopped the podcast at that time, and then they just started it back up. So I'm like a numbers person. Like I really like to dig deep into the numbers because I'm wondering what the overall numbers look like. So there was a really popular show that I helped produce like 2 years ago, right? And when the show came out, it was getting like millions of people was watching it, right? And then at the time that we came on, because everything is so spread out, you have television, you have radio, you have podcasts, you have the internet, you have your phone, everybody's so distracted that the numbers that they used to get 15 years ago wasn't the same numbers that they got then. So I'm wondering how the podcasts are, how they're doing, if they're making money, or what the overall game plan is. It like I want to speak to the person who's like almost the dang it, what is his name? Jonathan Majors, his character in Marvel, in the Marvel universe.
Let me see. I'm gonna look that up.
Well, Loki, spoiler alert if you haven't watched that, Loki's character is God of Time. So it's almost like that person is the God of Time for WWE, and they oversee everything. So they know the numbers for the podcast, for each promotion, what wrestler is selling a certain amount of shirts, like all that stuff I would love to see, because then that gives somebody like me who really would love to watch the Netflix show, seeing what goes behind the scenes, like the overall picture of, oh, why this makes sense.
King the Conqueror, because he was an Ant-Man.
Yeah. So I'm going, just FYI, JD and people, for future shows, I'm going back and watching all the Marvel movies. And so now there's going to be a lot of Marvel references. So I apologize in advance.
No, actually, Will would be very proud if he was here. He'd be so proud of you.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because it's you can apply any of the storylines, and even with wrestling, obviously, because there's a lot of stories and stuff like that. It's just like to anything, like with everything that's happening. So it's very fascinating. Especially when you can go back, and I'm the type of person who watches it, but then I'll stop and I'll look up, like, why did this happen, or who's this person, and fill in the blanks with Google and all this other stuff. Anywho, I digress. But I would love to see, because they're putting out a lot more podcasts, and what they learned from the last batch of podcasts to what's happening now, and then how that compares to, for instance, Busted Open.
Yeah, 24/7.
Yeah,
my God, 24/7.
It's a lot of content.
That is a lot of content.
And so then how do you listen to that and then watch Raw for 3 hours, and then, listen to us for an hour, and then listen to all the interviews, and then consume the news and take care of your kids?
That's a balance. That is a balance.
Wait, what do you do to fall asleep to, Cousin Ron?
I think he meant the podcast, like maybe like the Sirius XM Busted Open podcast.
Huh. But do you actually retain the information?
Ooh. That's really interesting.
Bosa said we have Cody, Undertaker, Stephanie, and now Logan in the podcast family. Who did ladies think joins the podcast family next? Sam and Meg. Oh yeah, Sam and Meg's recap. I mean, yeah, I listen to that too sometimes, especially if I want to get into like the Zen and all this other stuff. I really like New Day's podcast, but obviously we don't have New Day anymore per se. But I wouldn't mind like the New Day. I would be interested in seeing what they would be talking about.
That would be interesting with the new. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, because they're like the whole way. When Xavier was dressed like a pimp, was it 3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
I was like, I text him like, "Yo, are you dressed?" He's like, "It's." Well, I can't tell you what he said. Anyways, it was just kind of. I am interested because I feel like the New Day, and it's not even a knock to the storyline. I feel like because they've been in the game for so long, and they're kind of figuring out different ways how to make it fun for them and to evolve. I'd be curious to see how their podcast would be now compared to what it was. I don't know, what was that, like 5 years ago?
Something like that.
So I would like to see them. Who else would have a good podcast?
I'm gonna say Michael Cole. I feel like Michael Cole has so many stories.
Yeah.
He's been there for so long.
Yeah.
He's been there for so long, since 97. And I can't even imagine.
Does Corey still have a podcast? He had a podcast. Is it?
He did. I don't think Corey has a podcast.
Okay.
But I would love for Michael Cole because I feel like he has so many stories.
Him and Pat.
Yeah, Pat. Oh my God. Him and Pat. It would have to be off season. Well, yeah, off season like football.
What about ladies? Chelsea.
Oh my God, Chelsea. Chelsea would be a hoot.
Chelsea would have a good podcast.
Chelsea.
Now, for the people who are listening, I mean, the people who can make decisions and stuff, I don't want everybody to have a podcast because I also feel like, well,
I would actually,
Zelina would have a good podcast. Here's the thing. I was about to say, I feel like there's enough podcasts, but that's not true. I feel like people who create podcasts feel like there's too many podcasts because you create podcasts. But I feel like people who listen to podcasts they want to listen to. And everybody else who has a podcast can go and, find other listeners. So I guess it doesn't really matter. So yeah, Zelina, I don't know what would her podcast be about?
I think because it's going to be very interesting because I know she does one with Dakota Kai and they kind of dive into almost anything.
Yeah.
I think it would be good because she is a huge anime fan.
Right.
I just think a lot of people don't know. I mean, like, obviously we do. I know Honey does, but it would be kind of cool because not many people know about her anime background and like some of the stuff that she does. And I think that would be really cool to share the interest and also really kind of diving in. And also maybe getting a reflection in maybe when she won the US title for the first time, because I'm sure she probably has some stories to share that are crazy. Right. I think she did share one story on social where she almost quit wrestling, but it was after she had a conversation with The Rock, and The Rock encouraged her not to quit.
I would be beyond the podcast because I feel like not everybody should have a podcast. But remember when they used to do, I don't know if they still do this, like the 24 hour, I feel like they do each wrestler, if they don't do this already, because like I said, there's a little bit too much content for me to see everything that WWE puts out. But each wrestler has like a vlog that is highly produced. And, we follow, like, maybe they pick like 3 to 4 wrestlers for the year. And we follow them in their like everyday lives. And again, some people might not like this because now we're seeing more of the behind the scenes of what goes on and stuff like that. So it'd be very selective on who we see. Like, for instance, there's a handful of wrestlers that I know they're on like my wish list to interview, but I know like they don't do interviews, period. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be Oprah. They don't do interviews. So there's wrestlers like they're in that kind of thing. But I feel like there's other wrestlers with, like, for instance, like 6 months in the life of Chelsea Green. Oh my gosh, yes. Give it to me. I feel it'd be hilarious.
It would be very hilarious. And also with the fact too, Ethan Page has a vlog. Johnny and Kansas have a vlog.
Lash and Trick.
Yeah.
Talking about their like there's a lot of things where like, and again, this might already be happening. And if it is, then just tag us, or just say, girl, it's already there. Just follow WWE, which is, possible. But I would love to see like that, or this might get messy, but it's like all the relationships that kind of came out of NXT. I mean, we have, and you know what? The good thing is, I can't remember if you were on the show that day. The good thing is they're like solid. It's not drama. It's not like, and I'm sure there is, but we're not hearing about it. But we're hearing like some solid relationships. People are getting engaged and buying houses and stuff like that. Like, almost like the relationship tree that NXT built.
It'd be nice getting dating advice and telling 101, especially what to do with creepers on how they handle dating or what not to do. Yeah,
because you can only it's crazy. I remember we were I won't give out the names, but we were at, well, I feel like you could put this together if you know about my life, but we're at a wrestling event and there was a couple there, and the guy, he was wrestling, and the women were like just so enamored by him. And it was just funny because like his girlfriend, who's also a wrestler, was there too. And then she wasn't getting upset or anything, but it's just like so crazy to like see that your like, your boyfriend is like wanted on that level, which is a good thing, but it's also like crazy to see it like happening in your face. It takes a certain type of individual to like to wrap your head around like my wife or my husband or my girlfriend or boyfriend is like they're a sex symbol. Like it's crazy. Anywho, Ryan saying, remember Cody and Roman will be filming a new Street Fighter. Oh yeah, I did forget that. They made an announcement about that like 3 or 4 months ago. Anyway, I feel like this episode has been a lot of tangents, so I apologize, but yeah.
Since we were talking about NXT, we might as well talk about Great American Bash.
Yep, there it is.
We do a quick run through of the Great American Bash. I mean, I didn't get to watch it, but I did see highlights of it on socials. But just a quick run through. Javon Evans finally picked up the victory against Jasper Troy. Because I know last week when we did our bold predictions, said, and I think it was either said or Jacob mentioned this, that he wasn't that Javon Evans was not that good on his record when it came to Achilles.
It's true.
So I'm happy he did get a win. We did see Sol Ruka versus Izzy Dame. I did hear that was a really good match, by the way. Sol Ruka doing what she does best, and she retained the title. We saw Ethan Page taking on Ricky Saints, where Ethan Page retained in a Falls Count Anywhere match, and he is still the North American champion. Of course, there was a contract signing between Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, and Trick Williams for the TNA Championship match happening at Slammiversary this Friday. During the contract signing, after Joe Hendry and Mike Santana put Trick through a table, we saw Dark State. Dark State came out and pretty much beat the crap out of Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. We saw Obafemi taking on Yoshiki.
Oh, sorry, 1 second. JD, Rob and Katie, just invite them to the hot tub. Okay, sorry, go on.
Okay. Yoshiki Inamura was defeated. Obafemi retained his title. So he's still the ruler of NXT. And then obviously we did talk about Evolution, but Jordan Grace, Blake Monroe defeated Fatal Influence before the dreadful betrayal that happened yesterday.
There's so much I think was it Jay? No, it was Cousin Ron saying that he falls asleep to the Marvels like as ASMR. It's one of those things where it's like it's a great thing because wrestling's like a soap opera, right? Where you can miss something but then catch up, especially if you don't miss a long time. But even if you miss a long time, if you can kind of get the storylines, you can kind of pick it back up. But the devil's in the details. And it's just kind of like there's so many different this is like Loki references, so many different timelines going on that you have to kind of keep what's going and then what's intersecting, and then somebody moves to another promotion, and then you have Natalia all over the place. Yeah, it's a lot going on. And shout out to Pachu. I haven't seen you in a moment, so shout out to Pachu. Welcome.
He's been floating. He's been floating.
Oh, he's been floating. Okay, my bad. I haven't seen you in a moment.
He's been floating. But also, that kind of wraps up NXT. But also, just a quick news. This actually happened over the weekend. Heat Wave for NXT will be on Sunday, August 24th. Tickets will go on sale this Wednesday. This was announced during NXT Great American Bash. Ironically enough, this is the same day as AEW Forbidden Door.
In London, right?
London, yes.
I mean, so here's the thing. I think it was like late last week, they said that, WWE specifically is doing counter programming to AEW. And some people were saying yes, and some people were like, oh, it's not, that's not the case. Then you see something like this, and you're like, I mean, seems possible.
And I also want to throw out NXT will be in Philadelphia right before AEW starts their residency in Philadelphia.
I mean, I guess may the best company win. I don't want to see AEW. I really wish we had like an archive system, because Professor did a monologue about this, I think like 2 or 3 years ago, where it's just like people were really rooting for AEW to end, and that's not what I want to see.
Oh yes, I saw that clip on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I wish we had like an archival system where we can just kind of do a search and just pull it up, but you know, we're not there yet. However, it's kind of one of those things where I don't want them. I forgot who I was talking to, but I was saying that AEW, because remember at one point you could, and I think you could speak more to this, Tony Khan was very much, you know, I want to rival WWE and WWE's not doing blah blah blah. He was kind of throwing a lot of grenades, and I feel like right now it's kind of like, is Reebok even still around? I think Reebok is still around. It's kind of like Nike, like at one point Nike and Reebok were going head to head, and then, you know, Nike took its place at the throne as number one, and Reebok is doing a solid. They've been around, you know, a little bit. I think they've been there a little bit longer than Nike, and you know, I want to say they're fine. I don't know. I'm not at the company, but you know, you find what your niche is and you find what works for you. And I can say from being at both WWE and AEW's PLEs and pay-per-views and just regular shows, the audiences are very different. And so I think that's okay. So I really don't want this counter programming to change the scope of what AEW is. So, you know, because we want wrestlers to work.
Yeah, we want them to get work and get paid.
Yeah, because it helps the economy and all the good stuff. So, anywho,
we want them to get paid.
Let them get paid. Dang, I think that's it.
Save the best. Save for last. Since we were talking about Forbidden Door. Woo! All in Texas. I mean,
man, wait, did you see that? I know you saw it because you did the show. The video that was going viral when Tony Storm had Mercedes in a compromising position.
Yes.
That was funny. Anyways, all in. Let's
my God. Yeah, I mean, obviously I did a watch along on Saturday. I mean, it was in Texas, the biggest show of the year. Just going over a few highlights. Before we even get into this, of course, obviously, this was talked about a lot before even the show started. Adam Cole, unfortunately, had to vacate the TNT Championship because of a disclosed injury that actually happened a few hours before the show. There was a lot of speculation that happened. Unfortunately, there have been some reports floating that it might be a concussion. We don't know. But unfortunately, he had to relinquish the TNT Championship. So, do wish Adam Cole a speedy recovery. It sucks because he's been having so much bad injury since he came to AEW, and it's like this guy can't catch a break. So I'm hoping he heals up pretty soon. But during TNT Championship, it was a fatal four-way match. It was Kyle Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, Dustin Rhodes, and Sammy Guevara. They battle out in a really solid match, and we got a new TNT champion, Dustin Rhodes. And a little fact in there, because I was doing some deep diving. This is Dustin's first taste of AEW singles gold since he's been there.
Because did he have the championship with him and Sonny? Or they were just a tag team?
Ring of Honor tag team champions.
Okay.
Yeah, they're still the Ring of Honor tag team champions. He also has the 6-man Ring of Honor championships with the Von Erichs. So congratulations
to him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's his first. He was very emotional. I had the chance to watch the media scrum, and he was very emotional. He had no words what to say. No words, but congratulations to him. He definitely earned it. Pretty much this photo explains it all because Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay had a very incredible match against the Young Bucks. It was insane, and the crowd was on their feet. It was a really fun match that had the energy going, but your winners, and I'm surprised, Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. And also shout outs to JoJo for making an appearance, for singing.
I saw that.
Shout outs to her, because I had to do a double take and be like, is that JoJo?
I wonder, because isn't WWE support like sending her or like supporting her because, like, I wonder if there's like a conflict of interest there. I mean, clearly not, because I feel like she wouldn't have done it if there was, but I'm curious as to if there is. Anyways.
So, but oh my God. Well, it was an emotional moment during that time frame when they won because a lot of people thought the Young Bucks, but technically the Young Bucks lost and they lost their EVP titles. So technically it's Will Ospreay and Swerve that have the titles. And I'm curious on how this is going to go. I'm just ready for it.
There it is.
I'm ready for it. And of course, we have Kazuchika Okada winning the AEW Unification title. And yeah, that creeped on Callis, but I don't care much about him. Him and Kenny had a really good match. Really, really fast-paced energy, but Okada, it now holds not only the international and the continental title, he holds 3 belts. So
there it is.
And he has not had a single loss since he's came to AEW. So congratulations to Okada. And we also had this moment too. After the 3-way tag team title match between the Patriarchy, the Hurt Syndicate, and Just Speed. Obviously, the Hurt Syndicate retained, but there was a lot of chaos outside the ring because apparently the Hurt Syndicate pushed Christian into FTR, and that created a little bit of chaos and mayhem. But after the match, it was pretty interesting because the Patriarchy betrayed Christian. It was only a matter of time if they were going to betray. And also with the fact FTR and everybody for the Patriarchy was ganged up on Christian and thought he was going to get the concerto. But here comes Adam Copeland with his trusty weapon Spike.
Adam Copeland to save the day.
He came in, but he told Christian to go find himself. And I think it's going to lead up to them reuniting because Ced mentioned this not only in the chat but last week. It's going to have them reuniting pretty much against FTR, and it's going to happen at All Out since All Out is in Toronto.
Sounds like another trip to Toronto I have to make.
Yeah. And also, I would not be shocked if that was the main event. I would not be shocked if it is.
Okay.
So we have that. We also have, Hangman. Well, of course, we have a new AEW World Champion, Hangman Adam Page.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, in the Texas Death match with Jon Moxley, there was a lot of chaos in that match. I mean, we got to see the return of Darby Allin and Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson made his return. Both of them getting revenge on the Death Riders, but we also tried to see. Ospreay tried to help, and he got hurt. And unexpected help from Swerve Strickland. And soon enough, Hangman made Moxley tap out, and he is now the AEW World Champion. 2-time AEW World Champion. Congratulations to him. I'm very curious on where this is going to go, and especially with this whole story, because lots of stories to be told. And also, I'm also thinking about next year at Wembley Stadium. But also, we had a casino gauntlet match. I mean, congratulations to MJF, but that's not the most important thing. This is the most important thing.
Yeah, what's going to happen with this?
In the women's gauntlet match, congratulations to the forever Ring of Honor Women's Champion, Athena. She is guaranteed an AEW Women's Championship match, and she was pulling triple duty. Triple duty. She wrestled on Collision, she wrestled on Ring of Honor Supercard, and she wrestled at All in Texas.
What do you think? Because I think we probably had this conversation. I've had this conversation quite a few times with different people. Do you think she kind of will do almost like a Mercedes Moné type situation where she will still retain ROH but get a title in AEW? Because if she drops in ROH, then who's next in line? That's because Athena's just been carrying the brand as far as women. So who can replace her?
This is a tough question because I really thought Thunder was going to be the one to do it. I really thought Thunder, but
do you think that? And I'm a fan of Thunder Rosa. I'm beyond a fan. I mean, her story in general, and you can go back and look at like our very first interview with her. I'm a fan of her. However, I don't know, could she carry it as far as promo wise and all the things? That's what I'm like more wondering.
Well, it's gonna be very interesting to see. But the good news is we get to see her in a lot more AEW programming,
And which is what she's been wanting for what,
mhm.
more than a year. More than a year.
I mean, she said it in the media scrum. Like she pretty much said it. And honestly, I watch that and I'm like, you guys got to give her better questions. I'm like looking at these questions. I'm like, what questions are you giving her? It's like the look on her face says it all. And I'm like, you're not even giving her much questions.
Well, that's a whole nother story in itself.
But congratulations to Athena. She did deserve it, especially in her home state of Texas. But I'm very, very happy for her. I'm very curious on where the story is going to lead to. And also, who knows? It may be somebody that we may least expect to take that throne from Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I mean there's so many. I mean we've added folks. So there's so it's surprising. I mean, I don't think anybody, and you know, I hate to be that person who brings up Naomi every single time, but I don't think anybody expected Naomi to be the person we have today 5 years ago. So anything is possible.
Yes. So congratulations to Athena for winning the Casino Gauntlet match. And I guess I'll give congratulations to MJF, I guess, for the men.
She said,
I mean, he's a great athlete, but he's a jerk. But that's how he is. He's just a big fat jerk. And he's used to that. But of course, congratulations. Congratulations to my client, Toni Storm. And, you know, I've been very, very quiet the last couple of weeks because Seth said a lot of things. There's been a lot of people that said a lot of things. A lot of people picked Mercedes. The minute she won the Owen Hart Cup tournament, they thought it was going to be easy. The most dangerous you could get Toni Storm is when she has her back against the wall. And it was very interesting because when I was watching her entrance, and if you saw her coat, she listed every single female she's beaten. Every single female. And she was waiting for Toni to be added to that list. So, I do want to give congratulations to my client, Toni Storm. There is a reason, and we had a conversation a couple months ago, myself, Professor Honey, and I think Will was on the show, especially after Grand Slam Australia, because we had to think who was the true queen of AEW. And I kind of said, Toni has to beat the elephant. She got to beat the elephant in the room that has the most belts.
Well, what do you think is going to happen next? Like, do you think we're going to, because I feel like how Toni and Mariah had on that series, I feel like Toni and Mercedes, it should lead into that as well.
Yes. I do think they're going to probably have another round 2 again. That is something to consider, but also there's a bigger thing that we need to do. And we talked about this back at Revolution, and I think this is something Tony Khan needs to consider because we've heard him say AEW is the best women's division. We've heard this from Mercedes. And since we have women's wrestling talk, I would like to see the ladies main event a pay-per-view, but not now. I would love for it to happen at All In next year at Wembley Stadium because there is so many angles that you could work with not just Toni and Mercedes. You have a Mercedes and Athena. And also there's something left field. Jamie Hayter. Because the fact is, Jamie was not the first one because she was injured. She was there for the second one for a little bit against Saraya. But that was kind of a little bit of a dud. And I think this is a really good opportunity to highlight Jamie because coming back to her home country, what better way to do that? And also people tend to forget her and Toni have some unfinished business. There's a story that needs to be said. And also, I know it's early for bold predictions, but I think Jamie Hayter may win next year's Owen Hart Cup Women's Tournament if everything goes into phase. But that's something that that's something I would love to do.
I mean,
but that's just
I mean, we've been talking about that for AEW for a moment, but it's still I don't know. I kind of don't want to keep saying, oh, well, it's still in its infancy. You have to give it some time. But like, how much time do you really need? And then again, it goes into the numbers. Like, yes, we want to see women main event, but numbers wise and people who watch it on the AEW front, do the numbers go up or go down? Who has more short sales than, I don't know, a Swerve Strickland versus a Tony Storm? Like all those things that we don't have answers to, I think, nor will we get answers to, I think come into play. I think there's more, it's not just wrestling, unfortunately. Like when you see stuff that's happening on television, it's not just, oh, they have a good match. There's so many other things and other factors that are involved because there's money involved. So I would love to see it, but I would love to see it. However, if they have a really great reason as to why it's not happening, I would like to know. But I think me being nosy.
And I think after Saturday, it should tell you all, because everybody was on their feet for that match in particular.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like when I went to Revolution in Los Angeles, Tony and Mariah, everybody's on their feet for that match.
Mm-hmm.
However, the match that Mercedes had, people weren't on their feet, but it was also a long night. So it's just kind of one of those things where, again, I think it's more like every stadium is different. Like the Seattle audience is different from the Toronto audience, is different from the Montreal audience, is different than from the Florida audience. Like everybody is very much, it's a different, and it's really crazy to see that versus the Texas audience. So I wonder overall what it is. Like if I can have like a exclusive interview with Tony Khan. I'm so used to him, people calling him TK. That is off the record. These are the type of questions that, like, yeah, just show me the numbers. Like, run me through the numbers. I want to see that.
Should be. I mean, you should. I mean, if it's publicly, you might as well share the numbers.
Right. But the numbers, I don't know. I feel like you can't always show the numbers to everybody. So I'll be like, okay, this is off the record. Just show me the numbers so I can have a better understanding as to what's going on. Just because I just want to. But yeah. But congratulations to them. I do want to see a round 2 and a round 3. I feel like this was made for that. However, I'm curious because if out of 3 go rounds, if Mercedes comes out on top, then what does that say about Tony's legacy, AEW?
That's also going to be something too.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to look into, because, like I said, I see them going again, because sooner or later she's going to get the belt. But I'm also curious on what's going to happen next for her after she suffered her first loss, and also who's going to be the next challenger for the TBS.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who is going to be the next person to challenge her for that belt?
We shall see.
We shall see. And yeah, we went through everything.
We went through everything on this fine Monday. Whether there will be a Raw post show, I don't know. We'll let me see if Ced's in the streets or not. Maybe he'll answer before we end the show. But with that being said, it's a great summer to be a wrestling fan. How are you doing today? It's a great summer to be a wrestling fan. Look out for WWT Live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And of course, all our post shows. And where can everybody find you, Courtney?
Well, I mean, the people can always find me sporadically on WWT Live at any time I can. Wednesdays, I mean, we're back with Timeless Elite Wednesdays because we're going to be in Chicago for the next 3 weeks. They will be having their residency in Chicago, and they will have the fallout for All In and switching over as they focus on the road to Forbidden Door in London, England. So it's going to be fun. And I'm still going to be celebrating, but I will be celebrating my win. But anyways, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. Please make sure to follow my socials at Courtney and J11 because I will be posting content throughout the week. Definitely tagging iDrink because they were there this past weekend promoting with All in Texas. We'll be posting that. Also, a few reactions everywhere you go. please make sure to follow ISBW Wrestling because yours truly is on the commentator side of independent wrestling. So just have to make sure what dates, because we do have a lot of stuff planned happening throughout this summer. And feel free to check us out, follow their socials, and yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me and follow me on my adventures.
There it is. Yes, you can definitely check out my adventures everywhere, in particular in Toronto right now, everywhere at TK Trinidad. Make sure you check out Women's Wrestling Talk on all social media platforms at www.talkpod.com. We have hopefully 2 interviews dropping this week. We're waiting for those to be edited and uploaded to YouTube. Yeah, and that is about it. As far as the Raw show, we'll check in with Ced, see if it's actually happening. Definitely WoW post show is going to be happening tomorrow. But thank you guys for joining us and rocking with us, for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao for now.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.